Story 1. Physique? Hardly ever. Taking up multiple machines and barely working, filming yourself. Stuff like that, I am judging the hell out of you.
I hate the people who do a set and then just stare into space for 15 minutes. I'm waiting to use that machine, damn it.
Is this bait? If you're checking your form in the mirror, your form isn't right, lol. Mind-blowing revelation, I know. Maybe just focus on yourself instead of judging others when you feel inadequate.
Why? Optimal rest time is 2 minutes. That's how long I rest for, and I do whatever in those 2 minutes. If that alone bothers somebody, then, to be honest, they're overstepping. I've never had to, but I would be very happy to show them my timer if it calms them down. I'm also more than happy to share equipment if they are civil about it. People go to the gym for physical and mental health. Of course, never take the piss, for example, by using the only squat rack for 10 sets of 1 rep at peak time with 3-minute rests. A watch pot never boils, and the heuristic is they're resting a long time and are on their phone. Therefore, they are wasting time as they're distracted by their phone.
Story 2. It's a gym. If people are jacked or super fit, I'm impressed and inspired. If people are out of shape, I'm proud of them and inspired. I'm not judging anyone for how they look when they're doing exactly what they should be doing to keep fit. Assholes who leave their shit everywhere, don't put their plates away, etc. On the other hand, you're getting the full brunt of my passive-aggressive muttering under my breath.
This is exactly my mindset. I guess I don't judge people's physiques who look somewhat fit in an unremarkable way. But people who are jacked get respect for the dedication. People who are flabby get respect for putting in the effort. People just fucking around and making the gym harder for everyone get a big thumbs down.
You forgot to add standing right in front of the dumbbell rack while doing a set. Also, taking up a squat rack for something silly, like biceps curls.
Couldn't have said it better myself. See a person lifting heavy-ass weights? Damn, that's some serious weight. See an out-of-shape person trying their best. Damn, good on you for coming and working out. See a skinny person or new person clearly giving it their all, even if it's at a weight I haven't touched in years. Damn, yeah, you got this. Keep going. You got another 2 in you, come on. I'm definitely thinking this as loudly as possible in the hopes my thoughts transfer across to them and give them an extra boost. See a new person looking a little lost on form or machines. Yeah, I'll go help them out if they want. Everyone started somewhere. Everyone started having no knowledge and feeling alien in this place. If I can help ease that transition and lead them into the path of proper form and away from the devil's temptation of ego lifting shit form and not re-racking their weights, I've done my duty.
Story 3. Honestly, I judge myself way more than I judge anyone else. I notice effort more than physique. Seeing someone trying is always impressive.
I always look around and think, man, that guy's huge compared to me. Then we stand side by side in the mirror, and I realize I'm a monster compared to him. Body dysmorphia is very common and real.
I lost about 20 kilograms in less than 6 months a few years ago, and barely noticed it myself. However, people around me noticed and were really nice about it. Once my wife showed me an old photo for comparison, it was pretty clear. Somehow, the mirror image still changes too gradually to notice much over time.
Seeing someone trying is always impressive. 1000% this. I see skinny people half-assing it all the time, and I look down on them. Then I see overweight people working their asses off, and I have nothing but respect for them. And sometimes I see overweight people not trying, and I feel sorry for them, because they could try but don't, and quite possibly will quit due to lack of results.
Story 4. Here's a little secret if anyone's scared of this. 80% of people at the gym don't give 2 fucks about you. The other 20% are rooting for you.
Those little butt heads aren't worth worrying about.
Give it 10 years, and they'll be in the same boat. Not worth worrying about, in my opinion. They'll get theirs. You do you. And if they laugh, no one really takes such teens seriously anyway, so you're good.
Everybody judges everybody all the time. This happens mostly subconsciously, so you might not even realize that you're doing it. It's nothing significant, though, and I'll usually forget about it 10 seconds later.
Story 5. Here's a scenario. There are 5 empty treadmills to my right and 5 to my left. A random person appears and takes the machine next to me. That's when I judge them.
Just a couple of weeks ago, I got on an elliptical machine when the entire row was empty. Not even 30 seconds later, two guys decided to hop on right next to me with no space between us. I immediately hopped off and moved to a different machine. What was weird was they also immediately hopped off and left. Made me wonder if they confused me for someone else and got embarrassed.
Story 6. Notice? Yes. Judge? Never unless they look really good. Overweight or skinny people might think other people are judging them, but in reality, we're cheering them on silently. Story 7. Positively? All the time. Negatively? Never. I know where I started, and they are there doing the thing. Story 8. Physique? No. I'm the land seal. I don't get to judge. Behavior? Yes. Things like tissues or empty bottles in the water bottle holders on machines, not racking weights when you're done, leaving mats out after your workout, dropping the bar after an 8-rep deadlift.
The gym is kind of like working in retail. You interact with people outside your normal social, career, and familial spheres. So you see a bunch of new behaviors, and it's shocking how poorly some people out there conduct themselves.
Story 9. I don't judge someone's physique, but I 100% judge people wearing ridiculous clothes. If your leggings or shorts are so far in your butt crack that they could be touching your butthole, I'm judging you. I don't care how good or bad you look. That's pure attention seeking, and I'm judging it. The other thing I judge is poor etiquette, like playing music without headphones or having no awareness of what you're doing. Nothing is more irritating than being in the squat rack doing a set and someone walking right behind you so they can grab plates on the other side. Like, couldn't you wait a second? Anyway, so no, I really don't judge physique, but I do judge other stuff.
I found myself guilty of forgetting to pack my freshly washed shorts and doing my training in jeans. Only if it's upper body, though.
Also, guys who work out in hoodies. My son does this when preparing for a wrestling match to sweat out water weight and make weight. Sometimes there are reasons beyond bad attire choices.
I don't know how people in leggings aren't self-conscious about sweat marks. I wear baggy black shorts and my ass is wet after a solid lift. Wearing light colors tucked neatly against the anus feels like courting disaster.
Story 10. I totally judge. It ranges from, dang, they're super strong, to, I wish I had an ass like that, to, good for them for working on themselves. They're awesome. Story 11. Only if it's in admiration of their physique. Otherwise, I can say never. I've thought, man, I want to help them out when I see very new people struggling, but it's hard to read. I have helped a few and fully helped change their physiques, so I do judge there, but in a healthy way. Story 12. I don't judge other people's physique ever. However, I judge other people's technique. Story 13. I feel like the only time I judge is when the person is already being annoying. Like, if you're grunting loudly and slamming weights, then I'm suddenly going to notice your small calves. Story 14. I'm in no position to judge. Overweight, disabled, old, good for you for getting after it. It doesn't matter. Story 15. Never, unless I'm checking out someone else's gains and admiring them for the work they put in. When I see out-of-shape people in the gym, I'm thinking, hell yeah. I mostly stare off in the distance between sets, though, focused on my own workout. Story 16 every time. Those who say they don't judge are liars. People judge. It's human instinct. Our nature is to judge a new person or new thing to assess if they're friends or foes, a threat or not. But if people act on that judgment or say anything about it, that's a different story. Most gym goers are kind people who love to help. They set aside those judgments because they know how hard it is, how long it takes, and they admire the willingness and dedication to change when you decide to work out.
Everyone in this thread must be absolute impartial saints. When I see a stranger, the only thing I know about them in a quick 3-second glance is what I see with my eyes. Naturally, this means their physique, alongside their clothes and so on, will affect my perception of a random stranger I see out on the streets. Generally, one's physique is a reflection of how much time, effort, and discipline they put into themselves. If I see someone with an impressive physique, then I'm more likely to see them as someone who has discipline, lives an active and routine lifestyle, and makes healthy food choices. Overall, A person who invests time into their lifestyle and respects themselves. On the other hand, if I see a random obese person on the street, then I'm going to think they're the type of person who exemplifies the opposite lifestyle choices of a person who is in shape. Am I going to treat the out-of-shape person any worse than I would any other person in a social situation? No. And if I interact with them and get to know their personality, then my initial perception of them is subject to change. But on first glance, yeah, a person's physique can definitely reflect one story in a lot of cases, and first glances are all you have to go off when it comes to seeing a random stranger. To clarify, my post is assuming the original poster's question is geared towards seeing a random person on the street.
I can't speak for anyone else. Maybe some people are lying. But when I go to the gym, I'm there for me, and I really couldn't give two shits what they look like as long as they're not rude to other people. It's none of my business, and the gym is literally the place for self-improvement. The closest I would get to judging somebody else's appearance is when they are wearing extremely impractical clothes, or if they look so good that I wish I looked like them.
Right? Everybody else in here is acting like they've never judged anybody in their life. I think my biggest judgment trigger is people blatantly cheating out reps because they're too embarrassed to lower the weight, slow down, and practice decent form.
Story 17. Not often. I do notice some people's physiques. They're in really good shape, especially the regulars I usually see, both men and women. It sort of gave me an inspiration for what I want to achieve as a gym goer. Story 18. It's usually they've put in a lot of work. Awesome, and they're just starting their journey. Awesome. Respect for everyone bettering themselves. Story 19. This is a good question. I have had essential tremor since I was 13, and anything I do that requires muscle contraction, for example, lifting weights, makes my entire body shake violently. Some days I can't even brush my teeth. The last time I was in the gym over 5 years ago, it felt like everybody was staring. I just turned 37, and my doctor said it was going to get worse. I was diagnosed at 13. I like being around other people, but I'm really self-conscious about this. If my tremors aren't that bad that day, I'll do some push-ups and sit-ups at home, but I know I would be more disciplined in a public gym. I just can't do it. I look extremely healthy. 6'1", 180 pounds. I used to be a scratch golfer before I wasn't able to put the ball on the tee because of my hands, so it just makes it so much worse, especially with everyone filming themselves now. I don't want people online to see me have what looks like a seizure. Don't take for granted the little things in life that you sometimes don't appreciate. Brushing your teeth, cooking food without spilling, enjoying a shower without slipping, not worrying if your foot is going to slip off the brake at a stop sign, being able to sign your name. Not to mention it makes you look nervous and lacking self-confidence. As a man with plenty of confidence elsewhere, my self-image in this regard makes me feel like damaged goods. Sorry if this came across as a rant, but I saw this on my timeline and thought I'd share a different perspective on how self-conscious some people are about different illnesses and anxieties. Thank you.
I also suffer from essential tremor, and I completely get what you're saying. I'm super self-conscious, especially as I age, and it gets worse in other areas besides my hands. I will say this. Lifting has helped me so much with stabilization and muscle focus for certain activities, and I now barely think about it unless it's in a social setting where new people see me eating and so on. Sometimes you have to just say, fuck people, and do you.
Story 20. When I was young, I compared myself to people with similar frames to motivate myself. As an older person now, I just do my sets and ignore as many people as possible. Story 21. Not judging anyone's physique at all. However, I always notice a good one and can appreciate it. Story 22. I judge people at the gym for excessive phone use, not wiping down equipment, not re-racking their weights, yakking away with their workout partner and taking 30 goddamn minutes on the bench press, tossing something at the trash and missing, and they know they missed, they just don't care. Taking up a whole bench in the locker room and a ton of other behaviors. But physique? The only people I judge there are the really jacked ones, and that's because I'm watching them for workout tips. Story 23. Normally not, but while I'm stretching out, occasionally this young lady comes over, stands in front of me, and stretches in ways that cannot be ignored. Story 24. I've never judged someone's physique. I do sometimes envy someone's physique and use that as motivation. Story 25. Never. And in all fairness, it doesn't get any more hypocritical than this if you do. Because everyone screams, "You're fat, go to the gym." And then when someone goes to the gym, they get judged and told they don't belong. It happened to me. You don't know the other person's story. You haven't been in their shoes. Just be grateful you don't have to take that journey and focus on your own things that need work. Leave others alone. Story 26. Literally 9 out of 10, I couldn't care less. The only time I'm impressed is when a person has low body fat. Muscle means nothing to me now, as long as they aren't like an FFMI of 18, fat-free mass index. Story 27. In a negative way? Never. I've been going to the gym at least 4 days per week, usually more, for over 25 years, and not only do I not negatively judge someone's physique, I don't know anyone who has. Now, someone who has obviously put a lot of effort and discipline into their body. Yeah, you recognize that. Story 28. I'm only really guilty of doing that when someone is camped out, reading their phone, and I'm trying to get to whatever piece of equipment they're on. I instantly start tearing them apart in my head. Then I politely ask if they're almost done. Story 29. Judge? No. I have about the same reaction to people I see in the lobby of the oil change place or the grocery store. You do you, and that's your business. If anything, once in a while I'm wowed, though. Like seeing people do pistol squats while holding a plate and standing on the handle of a kettlebell. Story 30. I do not. I think it's great that everyone is there working out, and the gym is for everyone. I only judge people for shitty behavior. Story 31. It's nothing but admiration for what might be a lot of hard work. Also, when I see someone beginning their journey, I give a thumbs up and otherwise ignore them so they don't feel self-conscious. It always excites me to see this. Story 32. Judging physique? Never. Acknowledging it? All the time. I definitely judge poor etiquette, though. Story 33. Almost never. The only exception is the creepy dudes who seem to go to the gym but only utilize the locker room. Story 34. Judging has a negative connotation, but I notice when regulars make progress and cheer for them in my head. That's kind of judging their physique. But I'm constantly thinking poorly about people's behavior. I can't fucking stand loitering on a machine. Use it as long as you want, fine, but the lat pull down is not a fucking chair to take your rest on. Story 35. Let's be real. If someone's gonna judge you in the gym, they're gonna judge you everywhere else. I'd say in the gym, your chances of someone being supportive and understanding of your physique are greater than, say, in the grocery aisle. Story 36. The only time I've ever judged a person at the gym was this guy's upper half. It was huge, just pure muscle. But then he had chicken legs, so he looked really out of proportion. Story 37. I'll be honest. I'm constantly judging myself when I see everyone work out so hard. Story 38. Physique? Never. But here's my shit list of people I do judge. Dudes who check their phone for 10 minutes between sets on a bench or machine. Dudes who talk really loudly with their friends. Bonus if they're talking loudly about how people undervalue their hard work just because they take steroids. Dudes who claim benches with their stuff and walk away for a while. Dudes who use 2 stations at once for their supersets. Dudes who slam weights. Dudes who grunt and shout like they're Dragon Ball Z characters. Dudes who film themselves in a public gym. Dudes with neo-Nazi tattoos. Dudes who don't put the weights back. Dudes who don't clean benches afterwards. Dudes who have hands-free phone conversations loudly. Story 39. I've been both the fit and unfit guy at the gym. No one is paying attention unless you're being an asshole, like not putting weights back, taking up multiple machines, and so on. Seriously, if you want to get fit but you're intimidated, don't be. No one will be paying attention. Feel free to ask for advice on machines or workouts. Most people will take it as a compliment. Occasionally, someone pops up on social media making fun of someone at the gym, and they are always, rightfully, brutally roasted by fit and unfit alike. Story 40. I'm a guy. I almost never notice other guys. If a guy has a certain physique I like, I might wonder how he got that. If the guy is really fat and exercising, I think good for him trying to get in shape. If it's a girl and she is in great shape, I might take a look at her briefly. If she's heavy, same as the guy, I think, good for her for getting in shape. And I never notice anything about another person's workout. Like if they're going slow on a treadmill or lifting some light weights. Story 41. We all have seen a fat guy and been like, damn, that guy is fat. Then the next second you're like, well, he's fat and in the gym, so I'm proud of him. Story 42. Judging? Seldom. For dudes, I generally don't care. The only judging I do is if they have shit form and are hurting themselves recklessly, or are the loud douchebag grunters that also slam weights. If you can pick it up, you can put it down. Quietly. For ladies, I only notice if they're hot, and then I briefly ogle from a very far distance so as to only be a minor creep and 0% threat. Story 43. Never. I'll often watch what they're doing to see what I can add to my own routine, though. Story 44. Never. The amount of discipline it takes to show up is inspiring. If you're in great shape, good. If you're just starting, even more so. Story 45. Judging negatively? Never. If you're at the gym, you're actively working to better yourself, and I applaud it. I'm always judging other big dudes, though, to admire their lats or delts. I'm straight, but bodybuilding makes us all a little gay. Story 46. I judge people on their gym etiquette, like not wiping down equipment or hogging machines while they scroll through their phone. But physique? No way, as they're there to improve it. Story 47. I admire. Don't judge. Unless you're one of those assholes who don't unrack their weights. Story 48. I was at the gym Sunday morning, doing my stuff, listening to a book, largely oblivious. I absently noted a woman loading plates onto a bar for deadlifts, and she just kept loading. I watched her deadlift over 300 pounds. I'm judging damn impressive. Random lady at the gym. Story 49. The only time I judge anyone is when they don't put their shit away and don't wipe anything off when they're done. Fucking nasty. I know there are people reading this who don't wipe their equipment off when they're done. You're nasty. Story 50. If they're buff, I'm impressed by them. If they're anything else, I'm still impressed by them for showing up. I only ever judge anyone for hogging machines or camping them whilst not even using them. Story 51. Most people at the gym are there for themselves and barely notice others. The rest of the time, it's typically supportive, with people noting their progress. People feel self-conscious, but they shouldn't. There are far more people there silently cheering for others to succeed than negatively judging by a massive margin. Story 52. I'm very judgy at the gym. When I think about it, I'm not like that once I finish. I think it's because of adrenaline or my heart pumping. But I don't judge people's bodies. I judge their consideration for others. If they sit on a machine someone else is waiting for and play on their phones, I judge. If they play music without earbuds and use a Bluetooth speaker so other people are forced to listen to it, I judge. If they have loud conversations on their phone, I judge. I hate when people treat the gym like they're at home and other people don't exist. I don't care if someone is out of shape. If they are working at it, that's great. Story 53. The only people I would ever judge in a gym are the ones who are only there to make social media posts for attention. Story 54. Physique. 0%. Phone usage, filming yourself in the way of others, influencer type things, 100%. Story 55. If someone is actively trying to improve their physique and overall health, no matter what their starting point is, you don't have the right to judge someone based on how they appear. Story 56. Never. Don't worry, it's all in your head. Nobody is judging because they're all busy with their own workouts. I do observe others though, just in case someone needs help.
I don't judge. However, I notice every single person there, all the while busy with my workout.
Story 57. People here are lying. Everyone is always judging everyone else, but not in a super dramatic way. Story 58. Only ever appreciate people in the gym, regardless of their size. Everyone has made a decision to get there and become a better version of themselves. Story 59. For most, I wouldn't say judge. More that I'm surprised at how relatively weak people are, and that you can't gauge people's strength by their physique very well. A dude I've become decent friends with at the gym did bench with me the other day for the first time, Barbells are a pretty new addition to our gym. I was flabbergasted at how this dude, who I consider a bit of a physique goal for me, was doing my second set of warm-ups as his 3-rep max. No shame. Maybe what's surprising is how strong I am, but I don't know. I shared this with my wife and she essentially said, "I don't think you understand how abnormally strong you are," but she's stronger than a solid 70% of the guys there too. As far as actual judging, I judge bad behavior. Not tracking, putting weights in the completely wrong place, posing between sets and taking up valuable space, groups of 16s fucking around on a single machine for nearly an hour that I need for 7 to 8 minutes tops. Ego lifters. People who use the power rack to curl in. Shit like that. Get the fuck out of here. Story 60. A fair bit, to be honest, but not the way you think. I notice the improvements. I don't care how long someone is there for. If you lift even 1 kilogram heavier or have more definition in a muscle, that's what I see. Story 61. I'm proud of the people making the effort to stay fit. One guy uses a walker on the track. Another uses a wheelchair to get to the arm bike. I'm in no position to judge other people's bodies. Story 62. Always. Guys, let's be honest. We go to the gym to improve our bodies, check out the competition, and sometimes to look for our special someone. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be respectful of others. Story 63. After you feel with your own skin how much effort and discipline it takes to achieve results, you don't judge, you admire. Story 64. Often, but not negatively. If I see someone with a physique that I'm inspired by, I would obviously notice it and maybe even talk to them about their program. Sometimes I see people who are stronger than they look, and I'm generally impressed. I've never looked at someone's physique and thought something negative in the gym, which is what I think a lot of people are afraid of. If anything, it's impressive and inspirational to see people who are working to get into better shape, no matter what their current shape is. And as others have said, most of the physique critique in the gym is me looking at my own and worrying about what I want to work on. Story 65. There is a 74-year-old man who's jacked and natural, and a 62-year-old woman whose back is goals. There are a few women who are goddess-level fit. A few of the guys who've been there for the 2 years I have are setting standards I want to achieve, and a few people have complimented my improvements. Everyone kind of checks out what other people are doing or how well they are built. It's a lie when people say they don't. It's totally normal as long as no one stares. Just a half-second glance. I do the same thing in Muay Thai and so do the other people there. I never think badly of people for being there. I do think badly of some of the older people who come in, crowd the machines, and act hostile and entitled, but I live in a rich area with a lot of retirees. It happens sometimes. Story 66. I don't pay much attention to physique. I'm not exactly an example of physical perfection or how much weight they're lifting, but I do notice poor form, especially with people doing ego lifts with that poor form. It's dangerous and it reduces the effectiveness of the lift. Story 67. Only positively. I don't care or pay attention, but when I see someone doing handstands on a pull-up bar, I'm looking. Calisthenics is very impressive to me. Story 68. Never. I'm always body checking myself in mirrors or the reflection of a window. Story 69. I judge form far more than physique. It's none of my business, so I don't say anything, but I mentally roll my eyes every time I see people cheating themselves out of a good workout by ego lifting or other stuff. Story 70. I only judge crazy good physiques, honestly. I barely pay attention to anything else. Laughing my ass off. Story 71. I only judge if it's a dude with a physique I'm aiming towards. So it's a good judge. Story 72. I don't judge. I might glance, observe, evaluate, maybe even compare, but I neither approve nor disapprove. Story 73. No, but I am judgmental at the gym. Go have your 20-minute conversation elsewhere. And fucking yuck to the people coming in smelling like they just chain-smoked a pack. But the people working out? Nah, we all have the same goals. Story 74. Physique? Never. Amount of weight? Never. Form? Silently in my head if it's atrocious. I once tried to gently offer help to a guy who was about to break their back deadlifting, and it wasn't exactly received well. So I shut up unless someone asks first. Story 75. The other day, I saw someone who was rather large and clearly confused about a machine. I should have gone up to him and helped him, but I also didn't want to come off as condescending. Story 76. All the time. I'm constantly criticizing myself against those around me, seeing those with God bods as a goal that I'm working towards, and those who are perhaps behind me in the journey as encouragement that I'm not alone and on the right path. Story 77. Pretty much never. I love seeing a fat or scrawny person getting after it. I find it inspiring. Story 78. I only judge people for two things. 1, being loud and messy. 2, ego lifting. I respect the hell out of anybody who's there working hard to better themselves. Story 79. I never judge physiques. I judge personal hygiene. I judge horrible form. I judge ridiculous outfits. I judge bad etiquette. But I never judge physiques. Story 80. All the time. Not in a hateful way, but if I think I look better than someone, it's a nice boost and makes me feel good about the work I've done. On the flip side, when I see people in better shape than me, it's something I can appreciate and take motivation from. Story 81. I judge people flaunting their physique on camera. I don't like the gym becoming a TikTok or content creation studio. Story 82. I will judge someone's technique or spotting much more than anyone's physique. If you put 90 kilograms on a machine but then cheat by using it the wrong way, I'll judge you. If you're spotting for your friend but not paying attention, I'll judge you. If you are fat or skinny, I'm not going to judge you. Unless you try hard, and then I'll be impressed. Story 83. I don't. But I sure as hell judge how you act in the gym. Groups of broccoli heads who hug equipment, assholes that don't re-rack or clean up after themselves, Neanderthals that slam the weights, and gym Barbies filming. I resent them. But if you try to better yourself, you receive no judgment from me, even if you look like a pile of badly stacked lard. Because I once was a beginner too. Common courtesy goes a long way even in the gym. Pro tip. If you need any help or guidance, just ask the biggest, most angry-looking dude in there. I guarantee he will help you. Story 84. I am impressed when a dude looks amazing. I also feel happy when people start their journey in the gym like myself. That's kind of judging, I guess. Story 85. I don't judge them because I probably have body dysmorphia, so I think everyone is bigger than me anyway. Story 86. All the time. I keep those thoughts to myself, of course. And while I do judge physiques and more often exercise form, in my head, everyone gets props for being at the gym and putting in effort, unless you're the person literally scrolling your phone while half-assing reps or cardio. Story 87. I don't know, maybe 5 to 10% of the time? Most of the time, I'm just focused on what I'm doing, unless I notice someone who's clearly in incredible condition or doing something impressive. If someone's squatting 4 plates for reps, doing double-digit strict pull-ups, benching 3 plates or more, I'll probably notice. Or if someone does Olympic lifts, I notice that. Story 88. I'm always checking out people who look good. I don't care that much about those who don't. If I do think something, it's like, I wonder if he's going to stick with it and what the transformation might look like. Story 89. Sorry, too busy being too hard on myself to judge others. Even to this day, despite people telling me I look big, and even some women saying I look scary, I just don't see it in myself. I would consider myself medium build. And working out has made me a lot more self-conscious regarding the fat on my body. The irony, of course, is that I am extremely attracted to big women. Story 90. Always. But like judging how they achieved that physique and analyzing what workouts they did to achieve that. Story 91. I don't think I'm judging anyone in a negative way, apart from myself. If there's a kid in there who looks new, or someone who looks out of shape, I'll be thinking good on them for getting started. If there's someone in there who looks fantastic, I'll be thinking good on them for sticking with it. Story 92. Like seriously, 0. I go to the gym to distract myself from all the stress in life. I zone out for like 40 minutes on the treadmill. Story 93. I judge people's gym etiquette sometimes. No one really cares about other people's physiques. Story 94. Never. My fat ass is just trying not to fucking die. I am a little less fat today though, so I got that going for me. Story 95. Not at all, to be honest. My gym has people of all ages and body types, from 5-foot-tall old men doing 5-pound curls to 300-pound bodybuilders, to teenagers in pajamas and everything in between. Nobody stands out in my gym. Story 96. I usually mind my own business, but once in a while you get someone with a physique where it's like, whoa, they really worked hard to get that. If anything, I judge my own physique rather than anyone else's. Story 97. I barely even notice who I sit next to on the train earlier in the day, let alone remember what other people look like. Story 98. I don't care what you look like, but I care how you act. Follow proper gym etiquette and don't do stupid shit with the equipment. Story 99. Completely honest answer. If they are extremely buff, I wonder whether they take steroids. If they are fat, I wonder how they could let it come to that point, but I am happy they are improving. And if they are very thin like me, a male, I appreciate that there are men who are in the same terrible position as me. So yes, I judge, but usually only for a second, and it's not even that bad. Story 100. I don't. People have various reasons to go to the gym. It's none of my business. Anyone who goes to the gym deserves respect, in my opinion, because they work on improving themselves one way or another. Story 101. When I see a fit person, I think he or she looks good. I wish I was like that. When I see a fat person, I think he or she is trying very hard, and that I need to try harder. Story 102. I was on the treadmill once, running like usual, listening to tunes, and I heard this loud noise up ahead. I wear glasses to see properly. Without them, it's all out of focus. So, until recently when I bought one of those glasses straps, I take them off to run. That way, I don't have to keep pushing them back onto my nose when the sweat starts and they keep slipping down. Anyway, this guy turns out to be shouting at me. So I hit the pause button, and a lot of people are looking over. This guy is telling me to stop fucking staring at his girlfriend or wife or whatever. I literally didn't register her as existing until he started shouting at me. I explained that I couldn't tell if he, his partner, or anyone else in the place was human, gym equipment, or a fucking floating tangerine without my glasses on, and that the treadmill only lets me face in one direction. It kind of de-escalated at that point. Story 103. I keep a wandering eye just in case people could use a little help. Other than that, I just enjoy lifting. Story 104. Since I've been going to larger gyms in between sets, I tend to notice the people who are solely there to socialize and take selfies. Story 105. I enjoy looking at the physiques of the other members at my gym. I appreciate everyone's physique and look at each person as inspiration. I'm a 41-year-old male, and I actually get the most inspiration from the women who are so focused when they're at the gym. They know exactly what they're trying to achieve, and they don't let anyone bother them. I'm a bit of an overthinker, but the gym has helped me be mindful, to stay present and in the moment. I do notice some guys who seem to look at less advanced guys and laugh, but I still find inspiration in their physiques. I'm 6 feet tall, 215 pounds, and my body type is athletic. I focus on being toned. My goal is to have a surfer body type, firm muscles and plenty of endurance. Some of the taller guys, say 6'2" and up, are really able to build impressive upper bodies, and I find that very inspirational. Large pecs, shoulders, and arms look great. The women seem to be the most secure and focused. I do like it when I get on the incline treadmill and then a fit woman comes and gets on the treadmill next to me. For some reason, it provides inspiration, and half the time the woman will go right into a fast sprint for like 10 to 15 minutes. Usually it's a younger woman doing the sprints, but it is very impressive that they are able to sprint for 10 to 15 minutes. I'm just doing a fast-paced walk on a 15% incline, but seeing these young women able to sprint for 10 to 15 minutes and walk off like it's nothing is making me want to try running instead of just doing the fast-paced walk on the 15% incline. I started going to the gym in November of 2025 with my high school buddy. He is basically a bodybuilder and lifts at least double and sometimes triple what I lift. He provides a lot of inspiration as well, but he isn't as interested in the 30-minute cardio sessions. He's more into the pump and really likes to isolate single muscles. But I'm extremely thankful that he was willing to take me under his wing because I would have never known how to adjust the machines or what type of bar or connection to use without his help. But yes, looking at the physiques of the other members is definitely inspirational and makes me think a lot about what I want my body to look like. I still want to get that toned surfer or soccer player physique. If I could achieve a welterweight boxer or UFC fighter body type, I would be extremely pleased. Story 106. The only judging of others I do in the gym is if I see someone not re-racking their weights. Story 107. Not gonna lie, I couldn't care less about other people's physiques. However, I do occasionally glance at people grinding out their last rep in a set. I admire hard work, and it inspires me to see my goal through to the end. Story 108. Often, especially when they're overweight, I think, damn, that was me, and he or she is on track. Story 109. If they're in my view while I'm working out, or if I'm looking for open machines, I just take a quick glimpse and go back to what I'm doing, whether resting between sets or heading to a machine. Story 110. You're already in the gym, you've done the hard part. If people are judging you about something, who gives a shit? And if they openly do it, I bet there's at least 10 people around them that will shut that down so fast it'll make their head spin. Story 111. Physique? Pretty much never, unless it's in a positive, admiring kind of way. Everyone is there to better themselves, and I'm not one to judge people who maybe aren't in shape but are trying to be. They're doing better than most by just being there. Judgment about their body, like, that is my next goal, or their legs are massive, does happen. Story 112. I don't judge people for their physique. Everyone should do what works for them. That said, I do question self-regulation when there's no apparent concern for how current choices may impact one's future self. Story 113. Honestly, after starting to work out routinely, it's more like, wow, that must have taken a while. I never put people down in my mind. I will 100% see people doing crazy things on the machines and say to myself, at least they showed up. Now, will I catch a glimpse of someone, guy or gal, who's just chiseled or well-defined? Yes, I am human. Story 114. Never. If I see someone who's overweight, I look at them with the highest level of respect. If I see someone with muscles, I respect their commitment. I only judge gym goers who are fucking assholes. Basically, like Joey Swole. Story 115. I judge people with poor gym etiquette a little bit. Our gym has 3 floors. On the ground floor is a cafe. I kept finding paper espresso cups left on the mats on the 3rd floor. When I finally saw the person responsible, I wanted to shake them and say, it's an espresso. Shoot it the fuck back and get on with your day. Story 116. Interestingly, as I've put on muscle, I don't see myself getting bigger. Instead, I seem to notice people look skinnier while I stay constant. Story 117. Physique, not at all. Form, however, I judge you on a lot. And if your form is so bad you might hurt yourself, I will try to correct you. Story 118. Never. I know firsthand the dedication and willpower it takes to even just enter the gym. I am proud of them for choosing their health and well-being. Story 119. Only if you don't train legs. And even then, I'm only judging your decisions rather than your physique. Story 120. The only time I even look at other people is if they're on the equipment I want. Story 121. I always look around at people. Not judging, but definitely looking. If I see a really unfit person, I don't judge poorly. I give them the most credit because I remember how damn hard it was to get back in the gym when I let myself slip to 70 pounds overweight. Story 122. Only if they're shredded. I've never thought negatively about anyone's body in a gym. I'm impressed when it's obvious someone has gone above and beyond the norm, though. Story 123. I've read countless times from people who go to the gym. Nobody cares. People just want to do the workout and get the fuck out. Story 124. I never do that. People are there to get fit, and it probably took them a lot of effort and courage to go in the first place because they worry about being judged. The gym is for everyone who's willing to put in the work. Story 125. I just judge people on whether they wipe down the equipment and put their weights away. Story 126. To me, it's more like hygiene. When I see someone who's unfit, it's the same as not brushing your teeth. Story 127. It's weird, I know. But the more work you put in and the quieter you are, the less you get judged. When you're sitting on that leg press doing half reps and on your phone, you'll get judged. When you're on there doing full reps, drenched in sweat, people will respect you and judgment will be much less. Story 128. Never. Most guys say, "Oh, you are so big. I'm trying to be like you." And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm fat as fuck. I'm trying to be like you. Never judge anyone. Unless it's someone on their phone, hogging a machine for 30 minutes, doing bicep curls in the squat rack, drinking an energy drink in the gym, being a creep, training chest and biceps only for the 8th consecutive day, etc. I like creeping out the creeps. I start staring at them until they get embarrassed by their behavior and move on. I got asked to spot this girl, drop dead gorgeous, early 20s, blonde bombshell. And I had to say, "I'm sorry. I will fall hopelessly in love with you if you speak to me for longer than 10 seconds. She actually asked for my number later. I'm 38, married for 17 years. Highlight of my gym career. Wife still thinks I'm a horrible fat cunt. Story 129. The closest thing to judging when it comes to physique is probably looking at bigger people and feeling pride that they are trying to lose weight and aren't afraid to go to the gym. Takes a lot of courage. I know because I used to be one of them. A lot of people mention form here. I tend to keep an eye out if anyone's form could actually cause them harm, and then try to show them how to do it right. Otherwise, I leave them to it because, for all I know, they might have to do it that way as it is more comfortable or they have a disability. Who am I to judge? I'm in a freaking wheelchair. Story 130. At the gym? Never. I'm just proud of anyone willing to make themselves better. In the real world, never, because you have no idea what health problems people are struggling with. I just wish people could get in shape for their own well-being. In the mirror, I judge hard, and the person staring back at me is always disappointed. Story 131. I'm always singing to myself. Don't you wish you were so fat like me? Don't you? Don't you? Story 132. Physique? Not often. More often than not, you kind of judge how they train, if they lift properly, and if they adhere to gym etiquette. Story 133. I haven't been in a while, but mostly I'm focused on what I'm doing. If I'm looking at anyone else, it's probably the closest hot lady. Story 134. Judging has a negative connotation, but there are a couple of people that I've said damn about in a good for them kind of way. Story 135. I notice and make mental notes about whose physiques I'd like to emulate, but that's it. It's definitely more about admiration than judgment. There are some whose physiques I don't like at all, too bulked, too bodybuildery, but I'm not judging them for it. Story 136. The only person's physique I judged was this one guy who went into my old gym, hogged a bench for 45 minutes taking selfies in his gym outfit, scrolled on his phone, and left without lifting a single weight. I never saw that dude again the whole time I still went to that gym. Story 137. I won't judge anyone's physique. I will absolutely judge people for not putting equipment away when they're done with it and not wiping down stuff they just sweat all over. Story 138. Never? The only person whose physique I've even noticed in that way is this young woman who I think has an eating disorder. She is extremely thin, like skeletal, and seems to be at the gym all day every day. I worry about her, but it's not my business, so I've said and done nothing. I just hope she's okay. Story 139. I always appreciate someone with a decent physique. It shows a level of commitment and dedication that I too strive for. If I see someone who is there because they've decided to get in shape and are at the beginning of their journey, I think good for them. And you wouldn't laugh at an alcoholic in an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, so why would you laugh at an overweight person in the gym? Story 140. Literally never. You're at the gym. It should be a safe space. That is, unless someone is in incredible shape, in which case I silently acknowledge that person is doing an incredible job. Story 141. I rarely pay attention to those with poor physique. I may notice, but don't give it a second thought. As a straight guy, if I see a dude who's ripped, I'm somewhat envious. If I see a woman who's got a great body, I of course notice, but don't stare. Really, what I notice is form. I'm always irritated by dudes who are ripped but use very noticeably bad form. Story 142. Never judging. More like, damn, I wonder how strictly they follow their diet. Since that's the hardest part for me. Story 143. There are two things I look at the gym. People clearly lifting far more weight than they should be. I really only judge the people who've been going for a while with terrible form. Newcomers get a pass, and I'll usually give them some advice. People who clearly look way fucking better than I do. And it's pure envy. Story 144. The only thing I judge others for is hogging the machines. It's not your personal gym. Get the hell off your phone, do your shit, and get off. Story 145. I don't judge people for what they look like. I judge them for etiquette and technique. I'm not talking about a newcomer either. I'm talking about the guy who puts 20 plates on the leg press, moves it up and down 3 inches, and screams like he's trying to shit out a small log. Or people who don't wipe down equipment after use or re-rack weights. Story 146. I can appreciate when someone has worked hard on their physique. But over 15 years going to several different gyms, I've learned that everyone's fight is different. We're all just trying to do better than our former selves. That means different things to different people. Story 147. Literally 100% of the time. But it's always, damn, he or she is shredded. Or hell yeah, dude, get it, when they're starting their journey. Being at the gym is the important part. Story 148. I've been going 4 or 5 times a week for years, and I do notice other people's physiques, but I don't remember ever judging anyone about it. It's mainly out of admiration or curiosity, or boredom between sets because there's literally nowhere else to look. It's just great seeing an 80-year-old repping lat pull-downs, or a kid out of school trying to get his biceps curl form nailed down. Story 149. I don't judge others' physique. I do judge bad form, especially if they're trying to show off to others. I usually don't say anything, though. People would rather keep doing their own thing most of the time. Story 150. I judge everyone's physique all the time. I think most people who say they don't are lying. It doesn't mean they're assholes about it. As long as you're actually putting in effort, you get respect from me for being at the gym to either improve or maintain your physique. Story 151. If you're in the gym, I judge you positively. I think better of out-of-shape people in there trying to do their best than I do of beasts. Story 152. I only judge the physiques of people browsing their phones for 5 minutes between sets. Story 153. More appraising than judging. If they're in better shape than me, I'll be admiring their achievement. If they're in worse shape than me, I'll admire their commitment to showing up. Story 154. You know what? I'll say it. I look at women's butts because I don't know how to ask them what their glut routine is. Other than that, if they're roided, jacked, or fit, nice or good on them. If they're overweight or new to the gym with improper form, nice or good on you. Hope you improve and reach your goals. Story 155. All the time in the sense that I wish their physiques were somewhere else so I could have the gym to myself. I bet that's mutual most of the time. Story 156. I only judge my gym nemesis. Nobody else matters. I only have to be bigger and stronger than him. Story 157. I don't care about others. I spend too much time focusing on my own breath or finding the weight. Story 158. I'm there to focus on myself, not anyone else. I will only judge when someone has an awesome or impressive physique, and I'll usually compliment them on it. Story 159. Every time I see someone bigger than me, I always hit them with, looking big, bro. Story 160. You obviously profile people when you see them. There's no way not to. You tend not to look around that much, and most regulars are there to improve their lives. They see it as a shared community where they notice people's commitment more than their bodies. I've seen out-of-shape people fucking killing it, and it gave me motivation. But yeah, you're aware of it. You just shouldn't care. Story 161. Only if they're around the same size or strength as me, I judge to see if I'm either stronger or bigger, and have a rivalry with them in my head. Story 162. Honestly, the only time I judge is when I see someone consistently showing up and making progress. It's more like quiet respect than judgment. We're all just there to battle our own insecurities anyway, so if you're at the gym, you've already won in my book. Story 163. Negatively judge? Never. Everyone is there to better themselves. I check people out all the time, sure. Story 164. When we notice physiques, it's usually admiration, not judgment. Like, damn, solid back, or okay, quads. Story 165. I wouldn't call it judging, but I am often surprised by people who don't appear to be outright muscly or strong, to lift insane amounts of weight. Story 166. I only judge people who look really good. Normal people or fat or skinny, I don't care. Story 167. I tend to generally never judge people unless it's related to racism or ego lifting. Live and let live. I can't know what other people have been through or are currently going through. Story 168. Never. I think if someone is going to the gym, then they are working on themselves, and that's good. Story 169. Very rarely. Mostly to admire how strong some people are at their deadlifts with respect to their body size. I've been going to the same gym for about 4 years. The only time I've really judged is with 1 or 2 guys that I see a lot, around 2 to 3 times a week. They do hour-long workouts, and it's been like that for over a year, 18 months. Yet they still don't look like they work out. Probably a bad diet and not working out hard enough. Judging them in the sense that I wish they'd train harder and see more results. They definitely put the time in. Story 170. Never. They're in the gym, which means they're trying to improve themselves no matter where they are. If they treat the equipment poorly or have bad form, I will judge that, though. Story 171. Never. I do, however, judge them if they sit on a machine for several minutes between sets, doom scrolling on their phone. Story 172. Usually, I'm just impressed by how sculpted they are. I go to a very plastic, beautiful people gym. It has great equipment though, so I don't really care. Story 173. I never judge someone for trying to better themselves, but I'll always give someone compliments. When I was competing, weighing over 270 pounds, people always said I looked scary or intimidating. So I always made an effort to be encouraging. What I do judge is ego lifting and shitty form. Story 174. Unconsciously, every few seconds. Consciously, it's always positive internal dialogue. If they are fit, good for them. If they're out of shape, good for them. Story 175. I don't really care. But damn if I see a fit girl with a fatty. Conversely, damn when I see a big lift from a dude. Story 176. I judge actions more than physique. An overweight person trying really hard and consistently is way more impressive than someone taking selfies and showing off their abs all the time. Just don't slam the weights. Re-rack them and wipe down the equipment. Story 177. Sometimes I will be impressed by a good physique. If I ever catch myself judging, it will be about poor gym etiquette or improper form and ego lifting. Outside of that, I think anyone putting in the effort is way ahead of the curve. Story 178. I never thought that when really buff people have those really veiny, huge muscles, I try not to look at them because I keep thinking they might burst. Story 179. I don't judge people's bodies. Why? Because everyone has their own path, and they're doing what they can to better themselves. I used to be able to shoulder press 85-pound dumbbells. Then I tore my shoulder doing house remodeling. Now I do 25 pounds. Sure, I look weak, but I'm not blowing out my shoulder again. If you're in the gym, awesome. I will judge you for not wiping your sweat off the bench or surfing Instagram for 10 minutes in between your sets as you sit on the bench. Get off the fucking phone and work out. Story 180. As you've heard from others, it's more about noticing the form and movement than the weight or the actual look of the person. Story 181. I'm too busy staring at myself in the mirror, trying to see if I have any new muscle definition. If I do notice someone, it's a whoa, he or she's jacked. Story 182. I'm no longer a gym goer, but I don't go that often, actually. But if they wore those shirts that expose their arms, chest, or backs, I might actually take a look at their back muscles. I silently judge people's form and the types of exercises or haircuts they have more frequently. as much as I try not to. Story 183, officially but very rarely. I notice that someone is very impressive or I think, wow, I'd like to look that way. Negative judgments happen, but they usually accompany noticing some poor etiquette or outlandish exercise or something. Most people in the gym are just as average as me, and there's not much to think about. Story 184. Always laugh out loud. But then there's that afterthought of everyone is in a battle. So I just end up giving them grace. Story 185. Mostly just mirroring someone's consistency or thinking, damn, I wish I had those gains. We're all just there to fight our own insecurities anyway. Oh, if you show up and do the work, you have my respect. Story 186. Never. Since I go to the YMCA, there really aren't any douchey bro dudes there. Just average people, and I applaud them for working out. If I went to a bro dude gym, I wouldn't make fun of their physique, just their personalities probably. Story 187. I don't care at all. Everyone needs to start somewhere. I only notice if they're taking up a machine or a bench or something for a long time, because they're messing around on their phone rather than actually exercising.